Good evening. Welcome to the Glens Falls Common Council meeting. It's Tuesday, January 28th. It's 7:30 and time for a regular session. And tonight we have the Pledge of Allegiance. We begin with Councilman Donahue leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. First up on our agenda is public comment. If anybody would like to address the Common Council, please come to the microphone and tell us your name and address. We don't have you're welcome to come and speak about short-term rentals if you'd like as public comment, but we don't have a separate public meeting for short-term rentals tonight. So would you like to come up?
Hi.
Hi, good evening.
My name's Karen McShane, and I know there's been a lot of discussion about whether short-term rentals are a good thing or a bad thing in a community. I know that when I travel, I like to stay in Airbnbs because you really feel like you live in the city or the town where you're visiting, and it's private and you can have your whole family in one place. So that was why I ended up getting, I have 2 Airbnbs, and I know that some of the concerns are that the people who rent these places have loud parties. I haven't had any problems like that. I have a 5-star rating, and all the people that book with me have 5-star ratings, and so I've never had any trouble with any kind of behavior. One time some people were having a funeral party, and we drove by the house and saw the cars, and we said, "I'm sorry for your loss, but you can't have a party." So I mean, even that, you know, we really pay attention to what's going on. We live within a mile of both of them, and we take very good care of the properties. And it's a big investment too. So if Glens Falls decides not to allow them, then that's a big loss for me and for other people who have invested in this. I think it's a really good option for people, families who are coming here for weddings, and they visit their families for the holidays. It's just a really convenient thing for a lot of people. And we also pay taxes, so we pay the sales tax and the occupancy tax to Warren County. So I really think that it's an important option to have available for people. Thank you.
Good evening, Christine McGee. I agree with everything Karen said. I also have an Airbnb in Glens Falls. I have a 5-star rating. Have never had an issue with anyone, parties or any of that stuff. I feel like Airbnb does a good job vetting the people that come, and I think that people that are having issues, it's more of a, they should, call the police if they're having an issue with the noise or, that kind of thing, that it really would be detrimental to a lot of people's, especially retirement people who are supplementing their income like I am, where, it's something for me to do, to keep busy. It contributes to the community. I pay the bed tax, I pay my property taxes. Like she said, it's a huge investment, and I think it does a lot of good for the community. Currently, I have cultural exchange people that are here, they're here for several months, so it's not always just people for the weekend and things like that. So I feel it's providing a service that continues to be needed in the area. And they really, a lot of wonderful comments that I get people coming back saying how happy they are with the house and the area, and that they love Glens Falls, and considering moving here as a result of their experience with my my house. So I would hate to see anybody not be able to do it if that's what they'd like to do.
Thank you. Not seeing any other public comment? I hope so.
William Hans. I got a house in Faxon Street, on Faxon Street in Glens Falls. I also short-term rent. I agree with what both of these ladies are saying. I think the issue is with absentee hosts. Everyone you're talking here, we're in the neighborhood, we're in the area, and we're proactive with renting our homes. Also, we do not have any trouble with our hosts, because not only does Airbnb vet them, we vet them too. I do my own research on every guest that comes to our place. We have cameras on the front doors. We can make sure the same amount of people are coming in. I just think that anybody, I know you guys want to slow it down. You want to slow it down, you think it's getting too big, driving real estate prices up and stuff like that. There's a lot of other factors, the reason for real estate that has gone up. But I think anyone that invested should, I think there should be some leniency or some grandfathered in or something like that. I think that should be looked into, if it hasn't been. Thank you.
Thank you. Not seeing any other public comment, we'll go to committee reports. Committee reports, Councilman Dunning.
Nothing this time.
Councilman Landry.
Thank you, Mayor. Labor and Personnel Committee recently reached an agreement with the City CSEA Union for a 4-year contract beginning January 1st, 2025. This was a long, very difficult negotiation, but in the end, both the city and the union reached compromise in a contract that would be beneficial to both parties.
Thank you. Councilman Palmer.
The Building and Codes Committee will meet on February 5th at 6 p.m. That's it.
Thank you. Councilman Lapp.
The Technology Committee met on January 16th. There were some points of general housekeeping. We're going to be meeting on Tuesdays at 4:30 in Mayor's Conference Room, as well as online using Microsoft Teams. So the next meeting will be Tuesday, February 4th at 4:30. We have some updates from Stored Tech, just that they sent a proposal, and that's with the city to respond to. It's the same state it was in last month. Orbital Fire, same state as last month. The committee had asked them for details about incident response and mock disaster response, and what's called a tabletop exercise for cybersecurity. And that also is sitting with the city for to respond to the request that Orbital Fire made. We're still not seeing the implementation of C-Click Fix, and there's some issues with that regarding what happened with Albany. And we also had reached out for policy for that, and I think that was in a state of, Chip is waiting to hear back about that. No update on the cable franchise agreement. We had some discussions on AI. For the city, one thing is Stored Tech is going to create a chatbot as a helper agent for the website. Stored Tech is looking for to provide us with a sample policy for AI for the city. And I think that also Orbital Fire was going to have something with regard to security regarding it. We've talked about the possibility of integrating AI services for meetings, agendas, and minutes for different committees and commissions, so that we could have those integrated also with the website, sharing files via SharePoint, and having agendas submitted before, meeting dates, and minutes afterwards. In new business for the technology committee, Chip told us that the police were looking at 2 pieces of software, and they were going to contact us with details about that. We didn't have anything at the meeting. The cameras that were purchased late last year are coming in now, and there will be some training and deployment with that. They will also reach out to the council to show what the system looks like, but that is still to be determined. And lastly, we were talking about multi-factor authentication for VPN for city employees in case we have a work-at-home situation such as when we had during COVID, and that's it.
Ben, quick question.
Yeah.
Where is that situation in Albany with the seat quick fix?
That would be probably more of a question for Karen,
Okay,
because that's the legal aspects of it.
okay.
I mean, the Court of Appeals rendered the decision that said, and held Albany responsible that C-Click Fix was written notice
Right,
because their code was vague and had not been updated.
okay. So where does that stand now?
Just
So,
on
in other words,
hold.
we've bought this software, and I'm just curious, if and when we can utilize it, and if
It
we
can be utilized without even having the face-in piece of it.
Okay,
So there are certain things that are already available,
yeah,
but the whole website is holding back until we have that. So if you're concerned that things aren't being used, they are being used, but it's just not on the public facing end of things.
okay, thanks.
Thank you. So let's see, we go from committee reports to voice vote. We've got one resolution under voice vote. Number 1 is a resolution to approve the minutes of the January 14, 2025 regular meeting of the Common Council. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Under roll call vote, are there any resolutions the council would like to pull for discussion?
Yes.
Mayor, you don't need to pull it, but I just have a question on 7 and 8.
Yes.
All right, so obviously, these are liability insurances that have an audit at the end
That's correct.
that then determines whether the premium that we were charged was adequate to cover the coverage. Is that factored in when we do the budget? So when we do the budget for insurance,
Yeah.
say liability insurance, do we factor in, say, an average of the last 3 years of what the audit is?
What we do is we ask the insurance company for an estimate of where we are. They tell us what that estimate is, and that's in October. Trip puts that in the budget, and what you see here is now that the actual quote is out, these are the differences in those prices. Last year, the changes were within hundreds. It was a great guess. This year, their estimate was more often, so that's why you see us pulling this.
Thank you.
Ben, did you?
Yeah, I would like to pull 13.
The warrant?
Yep.
Okay. Any others?
We need to do seeker separate.
Okay, so which one is?
2.
2. Any others?
We should probably pull 3 at the same time.
Any others? Okay. So under roll call vote, we're pulling 2, we're pulling 3. 4 is a resolution to increase revenue account A009999-1589 miscellaneous public safety income by $2,550.58 to increase budget expense code A23120-1100 police department overtime by $2,550.58, reimburse city police for presence at various city school events. 5 is a resolution to increase revenue A009999-1589 miscellaneous public safety income by $9,240 and increase expense budget expense code A23120-1100 police department overtime by $9,240 to reimburse the city for Glens Falls City Schools for resource officers duty during the month of December. 6 is a resolution authorizing community development manual payments in the amount of $7,476.61 to pay for a portion of the community development director's salary and to pay for program delivery and administrative costs to consultants for the CDB program. 7 is a resolution to decrease CV 67220-6000 principal by $5,246.21 and increase CB 67220-4470 insurance by $5,246.21 to pay the difference between the estimated and actual civic liability insurance cost. 8 is a resolution to decrease A11990-9000 contingency funds by $12,517.32 and increase A11910-4470 city insurance by $12,517.32 to pay the difference between the estimated and actual general fund liability insurance cost. 9 is a resolution to decrease expense account A5699990-2200 economic development personal services by $12,757 and increase expense account A11490-4479 DPW other contracted services by $12,757 for repairs to the DPW Bobcat. This is from the 2024 budget. And the 10 is a resolution to decrease expense account A45110-4363 Main Street Maintenance and Asphalt tar by $3,500 and increase expense account A671404-4479 ice rink other contracted services by $3,500 for cooling tower inspection at the ice rink. This is from the 2024 budget. 11, resolution to waive the parking enforcement at the city parking lot located in Lower Elm Street beginning on February 3rd, 2025 until further notice. This will help alleviate potential parking issues when work begins on the DRI properties located on South Street. 12 is a resolution to approve the encroachment permit number 2-2025 with a favorable recommendation from the city engineer, DPW, police, fire, and building and codes for Chris Patton, 46-56 South Street, Glens Falls, to have Patton property development close and cordon off the following: a portion of Elm Street and the sidewalk, and a portion of the sidewalk and parking spaces on South Street as proposed in map, with temporary fencing for the redevelopment of 46-56 South Street from January 29, 2025 through September 30, 2025, with the staging area on the south side of Elm Street for the workers and equipment to be crossing in the road frequently and to be following the attached conditions. 13 is pulled. Do we have a motion for a roll call vote?
I'd actually like to pull 11 as well.
Okay. So let's see, with 11 pulled, 13 pulled, 2 and 3 pulled. So the others, so we've got a roll call vote for resolution 12, 10, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Do we have a motion for a roll call vote?
So moved.
Second.
Do we have a second? Roll call vote, please.
Councilman Donahue?
Yes.
Councilman Landry?
Yes.
Councilwoman Thomas?
Yes.
And Councilman Martin?
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you very much. I guess we'll start at 2 with the negative secret declaration for the short-term rental.
Sorry.
Yeah. See, please, Karen?
Yes, so this is a seeker determination for the proposed changes to chapter 220 zoning for short-term rentals. Attached is the seeker application. The council has to review the part 2 impact assessment and answer no or small impact or moderate to large. Number 1, will the proposed action create a material conflict with an adopted land use plan or zoning regulation? No or small impact. Will the proposed action result in a change in the use or intensity of use of land? No or small impact. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of the existing community? No or small impact. Will the proposed action have an impact on the environmental characteristics that cause the establishment of a critical environmental area? No or small impact. Will the proposed action result in an adverse change in the existing level of traffic or affecting existing infrastructure for mass transit like a walkway? No or small impact. Will the proposed action create an increase in the use of energy and it fails to incorporate reasonably available energy conservation or renewable energy opportunities? No or small impact. Will the proposed action impact existing public-private water supplies? No. Public-private wastewater treatment utilities? No. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of important historic, archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic resources? No. Will the proposed action result in an adverse change to natural resources such as wetlands, water bodies, groundwater, air quality, flora, or fauna? No. Will the proposed action result in an increase in the potential for erosion, flooding, or drainage problems? No. Will the proposed action create a hazard to environmental resources or human health? Based upon the council's review, the council could issue a negative declaration and read the resolution.
So, resolution number 2. Resolution to approve the seeker negative declaration determination for proposed changes to 220 zoning for short-term rentals. Do we have a motion for a roll call vote? Do we have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Councilman Clark.
Yes.
Councilman Donahue.
Yes.
Councilman Landry.
Yes.
Councilwoman Palmer.
Yes.
And Councilman Markle.
Yes.
Thank you. 3 is a resolution to adopt local law, number to be determined, 2025, to amend Chapter 220 zoning to add the terms and provisions outlined in relating to short-term rentals in the city. Only code pages referred to in the actual changes for Chapter 220 zoning are attached. Do a discussion?
I received a call from the city clerk's office stating that section 220-40 permit, we had it listed that the permit application process would go through the city clerk's office, and she believes that it should be through the code office. That had not been changed. So you have 2 options. You can pass the short-term rental law as written, and in the next agenda we could pass another resolution to amend, to change section 220-40 regarding the permit requirement. That would be from the Glens Falls Building and Codes office.
I'll make the motion that we approve it tonight, and we'll amend it at the next council meeting.
Second.
So, any other discussion? Not hearing any. Do we have a motion for a roll call vote?
We
Oh, it's made. I'm sorry. There we go. I apologize. A roll call vote, please.
Councilman
Yes.
Councilman Donahue.
Yes.
Councilman Landry.
Yes.
Councilwoman Palmer.
Yes.
And Councilman Markle.
Yes.
Thank you. Number 11 is a resolution to waive parking enforcement in city parking lot located on Lower Elm Street beginning on February 3rd until further notice. This will help alleviate potential parking issues with the work beginning in the DRI properties on South Street. Councilman Lapham, you wanted to pull for discussion?
Yes, I am wondering why we're limited to Elm Street, if there's other city property very nearby that also might be allowed to take in some of the overflow, and the fact that although we went through the Special Projects Committee with taking up parking, that now there's a proposal for another committee or a task force that the mayor had suggested in the state of the city. So I am curious as to why this scope is just Elm Street.
Well, we're closing the South Street lot. We've known about it for a while. If you open up Elm Street, then you find, so we know that there are a lot of people that are currently parking in the South Street lot that actually have their own parking through the bank and other properties, but it's not quite as close. So we thought that we would help while through this transition, that we just, we suspend it until we can figure out how to help them better.
How about other lots?
What lots would you?
There's any in the downtown area that are off-street. How about some relief for parking on-street? This, to me, is, I would like to see more of the city reaching out to help people find places to park.
Sure, so, the resolution is to waive the approach to this one parking lot. If you'd like me to, if you'd like to list whatever other parking lots, like there's a parking lot here at Ridge Street. There's, I don't know that there's many other off the top of my head of city-owned parking lots, but if you'd like us to consider
I would say
what are you?
consider all of the city lots that are off-street to, for this time frame.
I'm sorry, say again.
All the city parking lots, city-owned parking lots in Glens Falls, and enumerate them and add that to this resolution.
Well, we have permits for those other lots.
Well, there's other ones
Any
other
other-
than any
no
of the
permits.
unpermitted ones.
Okay. So,
I've heard that down by, down below the Civic Center, whatever it's called right now,
Mhm.
is the cooling arena,
Mhm.
that there's city-owned parking down there.
They're leased to the.
Yeah, they're
civic
leased to the
center.
Civic Center.
They're part of the coalition's lease.
Well, as part of the lease, when it's not times that anybody's using it, that people could park down there would be one thing.
Sure, people can park down it. We,
Include it in the resolution and specify where it is, please.
so this, so does anybody want to, second that? I don't agree. This is the resolution, but it, Councilman Lapham is, are you, you're sharing that you wish this to include other lots?
Any off-street parking
Any
owned by the
off-street
city
parking.
that is available.
Are you including the parking garage?
Parking garage?
The parking garage, sure, why not?
So we're not gonna collect revenue on the parking garage?
I'm saying that if you're saying that we're going to suspend rules and have a committee after another committee, then I say make the rule across the board or don't make it at all.
Now, are you suggesting that we don't collect revenue, or just that we don't enforce the 2-hour limit equitably across the city? Because I think that's what this suggests.
Yeah, this is what it suggests.
So I don't know that he's saying not to collect. You're just saying that if we're gonna not enforce
If
the
we're
2
waiving
hour,
enforcement, yes,
then do it across the city.
all city.
And comment about that. So, I've talked about parking in downtown Glens Falls for 45 years. As
That's
both
great.
both a private property owner with a business and as a government, running a government agency. And there's always a split in the downtown. 50% of the people downtown that have businesses say they don't want parking on the main streets because it affects their businesses. Those are restaurants and retail businesses. And 50% of the people who have businesses that are non-retail or hospitality orientated are basically saying, we can't do that. We gotta have parking for our employees. In regards to the loss of revenue, if you, would be my guess, if you suspend the 2-hour limit, you're losing revenue. Because now you can't charge for that extra time.
Well, we don't
I
have
think
somebody
that,
collecting.
I have the floor, please. I think that at this point in time, because of the conversations we've had with the downtown business people here, that they're looking for some relief, but I don't think that they're looking for relief that large. And I also caution us not to enter into something you can't get back out of. So if you award this and you say, okay, there isn't going to be any penalty for parking anywhere in downtown Glens Falls, I don't want to be part of opening that discussion back up in the future.
Can I ask you a question, Bob?
You sure can.
Were you on the committee when the special projects was taking up parking? Were you there when the mayor came in and said, I want to collect more money on this? And that kind of busted up what the committee was able to do. He wanted to.
But that's not the
this
question.
idea
That's
was-
not the question.
No, but this is what I'm talking about, because I do have that experience, and this is my frustration, is that you say that for 40 years nothing could be done. But we were making good traction in getting something done until somebody came in and muddled the whole thing.
Ben,
This is why I'm telling you why I'm pulling this, and that what I would like to see for the city, if we're gonna say we're gonna gift this parking lot, that we're not gonna be, not gonna be enforcing it, I am just saying, do not enforce it in other city-owned parking lots.
Okay,
It's
and I'm only saying
9 square miles for the city.
Right, and I say that I support the taxpayers of the city who are not asking for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any further discussion? Not hearing any. We have a resolution to waive the parking enforcement in the city lot on Lower Elm Street beginning February 3rd, 2025 until further notice. This will help alleviate the parking issues when the work begins on DRI properties located on South Street. Do we have a motion for a roll call vote?
I'll make the motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Councilman Clark.
No.
Councilman Donahue.
No.
Councilman Landry.
No.
Councilwoman Thomas.
I'm going to abstain until I have a chance to talk to my constituents. Having had no prior notice of this, I haven't gotten input on this idea.
Councilman Apple.
No.
So resolution does not pass. Thank you. Resolution 13, Councilman Lappin, approving the warrant.
Yes, I have questions in the warrant.
Sure.
First question is that the funds are difficult to match up with the expenses. So there's a vendor related to it on the detailed invoice list, but that's not mentioned anywhere on the different funds. So it's very difficult to connect one piece to another, and both those bits of information are important. Secondly, so I would like to see that change going forward, so that there's a way to connect on the warrant for the different funds, how this relates to the checks for the capital projects. Because the only way to do so right now is to check on the amount. Secondly, I have a question about vendor 593, Queensberry Hotel, for purpose of Mayor State of the City 1, $2,017.
Okay. Any further comment?
I would like to know what other expenses were the city incurred for the state of the city, which when I attended it appeared more to be a campaign event than a news event.
Okay. Any other comment on the warrant?
Hey, I have a question.
Sure.
On number 11, what did we just do?
We did not we did not pass the suspension of.
I didn't know
the
whether you had proposed an amendment, we were voting on
No,
that. Okay.
you denied the waiver
It's
of
fine.
enforcement. So we will enforce in the Elm Street parking lot.
Okay. Sorry, so, any more comment on the warrant? Any more comment?
Could you walk us through exactly what the city expended upon the state of the city?
Yes, no, I can't, I don't have the document with me, but I'd be glad to provide it you. I'll send it to you in an email. I think it was about $700 for the PA system and about $1,100 maybe in refreshments, and that was it. We got them to waive the rental of the room, and that's it.
So what exactly was the payment for the 2,100 to Queensberry Hotel?
I don't have it with me, Councilman
You just
Lappin.
said.
Wait.
No, he
You said
didn't.
what it was, the PA system
No.
and refreshments.
Yeah, might also be for the audio video of the broadcast of the place too.
So that was all paid to the Queensberry Hotel?
Yeah,
The Queensberry Hotel paid for the video?
No, the AV.
I'm sorry,
The
so
AV equipment.
the AV, yeah, the AV equipment was paid for, so I can get you the thing, Councilman Lapham,
Yeah, 2017 was all,
So the
so
total.
Queensberry did all of the payments for the video equipment, and they waived the fee for the facility, but that's the facility.
Yeah. So say, I'm sorry.
I'd like to see an itemized
Sure.
bill for this
No
before I would approve it.
Okay.
Is it any different than last year?
No,
I was unable to find any of this level of information in the warrant last year, and it's extremely difficult, as I said, because one part of the warrant doesn't relate to the other part unless you start going and looking for the exact number on the total. So I don't feel that that is a fair comment to make.
Well, it isn't, I'm not trying to make it a fair or unfair comment, I just know that last year, almost
and
the same
every year.
event, I have the floor, please. Last year, at the same type of event, there was no question asked about it, it never was brought up at all during the budget process. I do agree with you, I'd love to have more detail in it, but,
I would say that historically.
I'm here to do the work of the people.
Okay, I understand that. That was like you couldn't be interrupted to say you're here to do the work of the people. What I'm saying right now is that if there's something that's being done that shouldn't be being done,
Right.
the fact that you didn't know about it last year doesn't make it right.
No, I
And-
didn't say it.
And I would say
If
furthermore,
Yeah.
that previous mayors gave the state of the city from City Hall. And that's a fact.
And that may be true, and just like with all the politics that's going on right now, there's many proposals out there to run this city differently, there's no doubt about that. And all those ideas need to be vetted by taxpayers and a decision made on it. All I'm saying to you is, I'm just slightly suspicious.
I was concerned about this last year too, and went looking in the warrant, but I never found any evidence, so it didn't appear that money was expended. This year there is evidence in the warrant that money has been expended, and I think it is accurate that in previous years we didn't pay for food at the State of the City address. I would be curious also to know just the amount of staff time that was used for that as well. So when you get the itemized list, if you could just
And how much offset there might be to say that they're not available for their normal shift because there is some flex time that may have been offered, which the place I work for does not offer flex time. So that would be something that I think that the council might need to take up in the future to see if that's something we offer as a city.
I make a motion to approve the warrant.
So moved.
Roll call vote, please.
Councilman
Yes.
Westcott. Councilman Donahue.
Yes.
Councilman Landry.
Yes.
Councilwoman Howard.
Yes.
And Councilman Apple.
No.
Thank you. Before we move any further, Councilman Lapham, I just want to make sure that I have, you're asking for more information regarding the warrant so that you can track the expenditures easier from the warrant to the receipts. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. And Councilwoman Palmer, you wanted a copy of the bill as well from the Queensbury Hotel, is that right?
Yes, and just a breakdown of how much of our human resources went towards the event.
An itemized bill of all services provided for the city, for state of the city.
Sure.
Thank you.
Sure. Let's see, that is roll call vote. Old business, Councilman Clark, Councilman Donahue.
No, I'm just getting older.
There we go. Councilman Landry.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to commend the Glens Falls City Fire Department for a job very well done at a residential structure fire on 58 Bay Street that occurred within the last 2 weeks. They were not only faced upon arrival with a working structure fire, but an entrapment of a resident in the building and a resident with severe burns. That's a lot to address with 8 firefighters. But just as they do every day, all 3 of these events were addressed quickly and professionally, and a positive outcome has resulted. I hope the woman that was burned that day is recuperating successfully. So again, thank you to our professional firefighters. I have one more. And this I put under old business because I talked about it before. Looks like winter's about to arrive this upcoming week, I guess even tonight, in the form of some snow and ice. So again, I ask all of our residents, please keep your sidewalks shoveled so that our kids walking to school don't have to walk on the road, and our residents don't have to walk on the road in general. When it snows, help our fire department shovel out to a nearby fire hydrant. And lastly, be careful on the ice on city-owned parcels and ponds, including the river up New Hatfields Cove. I know they say that 4 inches of ice will support someone out on it, but it isn't 4 inches of ice everywhere. Thank you.
Thank you. Old business, Councilman Palmer.
I also had something prepared to say about the firefighters, but you've done an excellent job, so thank you again for your work. And I also want to say that I got several constituent messages just saying that they were grateful as well, so thank you. I wanted to follow up on the tree dedication for Enid. Her brother reached out to me asking for a date. Do we have that yet?
No, we just know that the tree commission definitely thought it was a good idea, and they're working to get their list of trees together. They're going to have Rob Gerard come and start to look at where that is. So no, and I'd be glad to know as soon as we know more. I think that one thought was maybe even to put it near in the garden, but that's not city property, so we need to probably do it in like one of our parks. But so we definitely could also, if you'd like, when we get close to making that decision, maybe reach out to you, and you could reach out to the family and see if they have a preferred park. That makes sense. Just needs to be in public space.
Sure, yeah.
All right.
that'd be
We
great.
could always put it in the dog park that's across from to offer shade for the dogs. That's right across from the community garden.
Enid wasn't really crazy about dogs.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so just keep me in the loop so I can keep the family in the loop. Thank you.
Absolutely, you're welcome. Councilman Lab?
For old business, I was just hoping that you could give us a walkthrough of how holiday market city payments went. I don't recall seeing them in the warrant as expenditures.
Holiday market?
Yes, the expenditures the city made for the holiday market.
I don't have that with me, but I can get you that bill. I don't know that we've gotten it yet through through people, but
Well, the city paid, right? So it was invoiced and it hasn't been paid yet?
It depends on what you're referring to the holiday markets.
The holiday market, there was the things that the city paid that were, that have been described in the news, but I haven't seen come across any of the warrants so far. So paying for bands during the holiday market.
Yeah.
There were other things that occupation or
We paid for sound system, we paid for staging.
Okay.
We paid for bands
Have you-
through our OpTax dollars.
Have you sent anything through to the council to approve those? Is there anything?
No, but I don't know what the process is for that, so let me look into it and get you that information.
Yes, because I think that from how the charter states it, that the council has oversight over all financial matters for the city.
Sure.
So we need to see those things so that we can approve those.
Glad to get you that information.
And going forward with all occupation tax expenditures by the city.
Occupancy tax,
Right.
not occupation.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Karen. Thanks for the correction. But those should go through the council going forward.
I don't know if they do or not, but I'd be glad to clarify that with the controller and have him give us information. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, and one more thing.
Sure.
Where do we stand with having the city fill out the public ethics committee?
We have suggestions from you and Councilwoman Palmer, and I've spoken to 3 people and haven't found anybody willing yet. So as we get more people, we'll definitely follow through.
Okay, I just would like this to be recognized as it's already in code and already been approved by the council, that this should be filled out prior to any of the mayor's task force ideas from the state of the city.
Mayor, I want to make sure I understood. So Ben is asking about the formation of the ethics board, which I know you said you wanted to reestablish. And you asked us all to nominate someone. So you're saying that you got a nomination from Councilman Lapham and from me.
Yes.
And that you asked 3 other people and they said they didn't want to serve.
To serve on the, we all nominate one person, so I haven't been able to find anybody yet, and neither of the other council members yet.
Yeah, I
And to
haven't
put
found
anybody
anybody.
forward.
Have you asked people and nobody wants to?
I've asked 4 people, and when you all of a sudden say, they go, what committee? You say the ethics committee, they don't want to have anything to do with it because of the press that ethics committee investigations bring to those individuals. So they feel like they're on the fire alarm right away. It's no different than trying to get people to run for public office today because of some of the things that enter into your personal life.
Okay. I think if we maybe put it out there and ask people to submit their names if they're interested, there may be more people interested than we think. Because I know the county doesn't have trouble finding people. So would that be reasonable to put out some sort of communication that if someone's interested in serving on the ethics board, they submit their interest?
Mayor, I'll find somebody at some point in time and I'll let you know who that is.
Okay. I will try to put out word that we're looking for people on an ethics committee, and then if they come forward and they're from one of the wards, then we'll use it.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
One more follow-up item. I would like to get an update on 26 Leonard and 58 Walnut. That was brought up at last council meeting as being problem properties.
So I will, let's see, 56 Walnut has been, was in court this past week. We have determined that we've met with the gentleman, the judge met with him. You want to give a better update
Sure.
for that?
56 Walnut Street was in court last week. A trial is scheduled regarding the declaration of delinquency of his conditional discharge. Additional terms and conditions were imposed by the court. One, he is only allowed on the property between the hours of 8 and 5 p.m. for cleanup, that no one is allowed on the property unless he is also present, that the children are not permitted to be at the property at any time, and the property is subject to every single Monday 9 a.m. inspections by building and code. The first inspection took place this Monday at 9 a.m. Code officer will follow up with a letter as to the continued outstanding violations. Code office has also reached out to Child Protective Services regarding the allegations regarding children. The code officer has also reached out to the SPCA regarding allegations regarding the animals. Those agencies will do their own investigations. The building is closed now for human habitation, except for the individual to be there to remove the rubbish and debris. With respect to 26 Leonard Street, I met with the code officers today. They, hearing of the last allegations by the neighbor, they had not received that complaint from the neighbor who previously was in communication with them all the time. They've opened a new investigation. They went to the property. They did notice that there is the start of rubbish and debris accumulating again. They were not able to make contact with anyone actually living in the property. We don't know who actually inhabits the property. Getting back to 56 Walnut Street also, the police department was made aware of the situation and that the building is closed to human habitation. Therefore, the police department has stepped up nightly patrols to make sure no one is actually in the property after 5 p.m. They've been 3 times and they've not found anyone at the property after hours.
I would request that until both these properties are decided by the neighbors to be stable, that we have monthly updates. Because both these properties have repeatedly gone into cycles where the neighbors have had to come in front of council to say, what can I do to get something done?
Okay. Try to get you updates and make sure. You realize that there was a ton done on both of those properties and have been.
I realize that the people that live next door to both those properties have repeatedly come in front of this council and that they continue to have a grievance.
I think they came 2 times, for the record.
And what wasn't stated, what was stated is that nothing was done, and there is actually a large list. But
No, that it's still a problem, is what was
yeah,
stated.
I'm with you, and so I'll be glad to get you an update.
Thank you.
And it can be well documented. Any other? So now we've got. I'm sorry, we're moving on to new business. Councilman Clark, Councilman Donahue. Councilman Landry.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to give you an update on the work progress at the Glens Falls Swim and Tennis property owned by the city. As a result of ARPA funding, we have launched 2 contracts for upcoming work on the establishment of a regional environmental park at this location. The award for cleanup of the site to ready it for future construction has been awarded. We had hoped to begin work in January, but an incredibly cold month has delayed the start of this cleanup. There's about 18 inches of frost on the ground over in that swamp area on the site, and a complete cleanup cannot be made until the frost is no more than 4 inches down, so we have to wait to start that cleanup. Let's pray that we get an early warm spring. On February 4th, we'll be meeting with the Labella Group to begin discussions on concept and design process for this project. This process will take a few months more than likely to complete, and I'll give you an update on this work as we move forward. Lastly, the Crockwell Preserve NGO, which is a not-for-profit that was formed by myself and 7 other individuals, most of them city residents, has been awarded their last certification for tax exemption from the state of New York. Private tax-exempt donations can be made towards this project through this NGO. All donations made will be earmarked specifically for the development and operation of this park. This NGO will work in unison with the city, town of Queensbury, Warren County, and the state of New York to create a funding stream for this project that will not, and I say not, rely on local property taxpayers' dollars. I'd like to remind downtown business owners with the impending forecast for snow and ice in the upcoming week of the importance of shoveling their sidewalks and sanding their sidewalks in front of their businesses. Just like we love walkable neighborhoods, we love a walkable downtown as well, as do many of our out-of-town residents who visit. Many hands make light work, so join your neighboring business and help keep our downtown sidewalks clean and safe. Everybody wins when you do. Lastly, Mayor, I just have a question. I happened to catch the news before I left the house tonight. There was a tragic fire in the town of Colony last night. 4 people lost their lives. 4 innocent souls lost their lives. It was amazing from what I saw in the news report that we didn't add a few firemen to that list. Reason being is that it was a hoarder situation. I witnessed firsthand many, many hoarder situations, many of which are located right here in the city of Glens Falls. Not only do the people in those homes or apartments create a situation that possibly could take their lives, they create a situation that could take firefighters' lives if they go there. So I'm asking you, Mayor, to reach out to the Executive Director of the Glens Falls Housing Authority. One of the limitations that our buildings and codes departments and most buildings and codes departments has is justifying an action. And what I mean by that is if you can't see it, you can't go looking for it. Glens Falls Housing Authority inspects over 200 apartments and houses in their Section 8 program, and I would request that you ask them at any time they come across a hoarding situation that they report it to our Glens Falls Buildings and Codes Office. I do know that those two departments, the Glens Falls Housing Authority and the Building and Codes Office, work closely together, but this tonight reminded me of the peril that we put a lot of people in by not addressing that. So if you could send them a letter, I'd appreciate that.
No problem. Thank you. Thank you. Councilwoman Palmer, new business.
Yes, I have 3 things. 2 are follow-ups to what Councilman Landry said. The first one, for the Tennyson Swim Club, at one point you were talking about being interested in the pavilion. Are you still, or is that off the table?
If you want to give us $200,000, we'll take it tomorrow. Because that's the cost to take it down, transport it across town. We just don't have the money yet to do that. And Mr. Bonaccio, they kind of put a time limit on that.
Right.
I do know that there were a couple other individuals that looked for it, but I don't think it's going to be saved. I would suggest, I hope somebody reaches out to Mr. Bonaccio and suggests that he saves the sign on the front of it. To me, that's pretty historic. That's where our first farmers market landed.
I had some people reach out to me that were interested, and I did connect them with Jeff Flagg, and I think he did say that he thought your group might be interested, so I just wanted to know if that was the case.
Yeah, we took it off the table. I apologize for that. We took it off the table last fall.
We used to talk about that at the recreation meeting, so we haven't seen each other in that form. The other question I had following up the question about hoarding, do we currently have a public health officer? I know we did, and then we lost the person, but that would be another avenue to address issues like that. You know, if a home is...
I think there's a number of things in buildings and codes that requires the health officer in order to be able to enforce it.
Yeah, right. So, and I'll just defer this to Karen, only because in my previous role as the executive director, I had this discussion with the then buildings and codes people. Am I correct, Karen, that if the buildings and codes department can't see it, they can't go in to address it?
Correct.
So that's the problem, is the fact that even if you have a health officer, if you don't know it's there, you can't just say, well, we heard it might be there. Where these inspectors from Glens Falls Housing Authority, are in these apartments in this city every single day, 365 days a year almost, because they have such a...
We may be able to use them as a statement and
Right.
testify in court.
Right, right. So that's the reason why, that's why I was saying, just to open up the ability to, you're not gonna get all of them because they're all not in the Section 8 program. But when I was involved in the Section 8 program, there was a ton of them.
That's a good suggestion, but it spurred my thinking
Right.
Yeah.
to ask, do we currently have a public health officer?
We don't. I've approached the folks at Glens Falls Hospital, Hudson Headwaters. It was John Ruggie who was the last public health officer, and so no, and also a friend of Councilman Landry's, and who they've all graciously said no, but I'm going to keep searching.
Keep looking, okay. The other thing I wanted to bring up, also in the news today, I'm sure many of you saw the statement on the executive memorandum that was passed on federal funding. I was wondering if we know how much federal funding supports ongoing or planned infrastructure projects in the city, and you know, I think of block grant funding from HUD and the bipartisan infrastructure funding for water and sewer, and I know that there was some sort of stop order placed until next Monday on this order, so that gives us the rest of this week maybe to do some research. I was just wondering if we might want to do an impact analysis, ask our department heads to evaluate the impact of this if it were to come to pass. What would we do if we lost those federal funds or couldn't use them? And also, further, it wouldn't just be the city, it would be the community, right? Because many of our not-for-profits and other organizations may be impacted, which could affect, you know, we've all talked about the issue with people in the park, and I know it's winter, so we don't see that as visibly, but if a lot of the services that people in our community rely on are impacted, I wonder if it might be a proactive thing for us to convene some sort of community forum just to discuss how are we going to handle this. And I'm curious if you've taken any steps yet.
And I'll jump onto that. I think that's a great idea, and I'll tell you why. My daughter is the chief financial officer for Washington County Head Start. She was called into work at 6 o'clock this morning after the announcement last evening. And what they did is they had a meeting with their crisis management team. So they already had a plan in place so that if their funding stops, what would they do? And listen, I'm big on risk control, and I'm also big on crisis management. That's not a bad idea. It may also be an idea that should maybe be the very first thing that we talk about as we establish a finance committee.
Yeah, I think it's important for us to get a handle on it internally, but then also community-wide. I know we talked about it today at the college too, in meetings I was in, so it'll affect everybody.
Right.
Yeah.
And so Mass, just so you know, we, even though he's in Florida, had a long conversation with Pat Dowd today, and that's one of the reasons that the resolutions are in front of you for some of those payments to the community that were already made. And so I gave him permission to go ahead and withdraw them today before the council actually officially, they'd usually wait until tomorrow morning to do that, but I gave him permission today, and then if you hadn't passed it, we'd then have to pay the money back or whatever. But so yes, I'd be glad to. And what I think I'll do is first step is have a presentation for you at the next council meeting so that you can see what those are. I think a lot of it's going to be our donations would stop to the not-for-profits that we have, the CBG. Those are the biggest ones, and they would be multiple, and then other programs, CBG, HUD, all our HUD funding would be ceased. So let me get you that, and then see if you want to add that topic to a separate community forum, and depending on what the report, how concerned you and the rest of the council are of that, or do you want to just add it to, again, something like your finance committee?
Well, I think there's two answers to that. I think long-term discussions are good, which we can do in a finance committee, but as Councilman Landry mentioned, your daughter was called in for crisis management, right? So we need a quick, at least assessment of what the impact would be and what we would do. And since we have the rest of the week of this stop order being in place until Monday, it would be great if we could at least get those answers.
Sure.
I mean, we've gotten some,
Immediately.
like grant, like some award, Senator Schumer awarded us $1 million.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's some things that, might not come to fruition if this goes.
Right.
Yeah, so if we could get a list of all of the impact across the city, water, sewer, and all the departments, and then what we will do to make up for it.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
we probably wouldn't move forward, but that's for you guys to decide. But
Something.
yes, yeah,
Another
list of
thing
projects
here.
impacted by it.
Another thing you may want to look into is unexpended ARPA money. So we were awarded that money, and if I understood it correctly, it's a spend and reimburse program.
No, it's not. And our-
So we have the whole $12 million.
We've already
Okay.
got it, and it's already.
Thank you. My question to Luke Point, I appreciate you.
That one area, but well point taken on the other. So let me get you that list as soon as I can.
Thank you.
Okay. I know this won't alleviate that, but just so you know, I don't believe there's anything that we're spending, like the payroll at Head Start, right? There's nothing that,
Right.
just so you know, there's nothing like we're in the middle of a payment and we're not gonna get that money. But that doesn't mean that a good short-term assessment of what it impacts and what our short-term things are is definitely necessary, okay? Councilman Lapham, new business.
Has the audit been finalized? We had, when we were meeting about the budget, we had a final draft of the audit, but we never got any finalized audit.
I believe the audit was finalized, and it was finalized before we met with the auditor. Remember when you had the
I have not
long-term questions?
received a final copy of the
Final.
audit. Has anybody else on council?
Not that I can recall, but
Finalized audit to council. But I'll find out, okay? Get that from Mark.
And similarly, several years ago, the city was going ahead with watershed resource planning, and there was going to be a study that was done. We already had the grant for it and everything, so this was at Water and Sewer about looking at the watershed and how we were going to plan for its safety and also possibility of opening up areas of the watershed to recreation, and what parts of the watershed might be less viable, or what parts of the watershed might be, needed certain things done to ensure their viability in the future. So I don't know where that stands. I remember Chris Round was leading it.
That one, yeah, I was
Yeah.
wondering if that's one.
Yeah.
That was, and then they had follow-ups to that, we were working on it, and then Chris Round took a job in North Carolina. But let me get you at least the one that was finished.
Yeah.
And where we are, because we definitely are still
We
looking
had,
at that.
yeah, we had a grant for it, and my concern would be we would lose out on the grant
Yeah,
if we
no.
did not complete that.
And we did complete it, and I'll be glad to
Okay.
get that to you, all right? Okay. So that was new business, old business. We go to public comment. Does anybody like to address the council? Please come, tell us your name and address.
Good evening. My name is PJ Callahan. I'm the president of the Glens Falls Firefighters Union. I wanted to come here tonight and thank you for what is hopefully going to be discussed in your executive session. I want to thank the council for the time that's been put in for the MOA that is hopefully going to be discussed tonight. We understand the situation is unique for both the city and the fire department and has never been seen before in this city. We sincerely hope that this MOA is approved and we are allowed to donate our time and our hours to Doug Hall. I'd like to briefly highlight some of Doug's incredible impact on the fire department. As it was mentioned by both Council Member Palmer and Landry, we had a fire 2 weeks ago. It just so happened Doug's last crew was the crew that was on, a crew. Multiple members of that crew were trained directly by Doug, whose dedication to training undoubtedly prepared them for the moment to make the rescue one of the toughest situations that we face as firemen. Throughout his career, Doug was always the go-to person in the department, whether it was for writing grants, organizing equipment, or introducing the latest rescue techniques. Doug has always led the way. His knowledge and foresight shaped how we operate, and his work made our jobs safer and more effective. Tonight, we ask your support to give back to someone who has always given so much for the department and the community. Doug's contributions have ensured that every resident can rest assured that their fire department is prepared for any emergency at any time. I just wanted to thank you for your time and your consideration of that moving forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, so also just as part of public comment, let me read this letter that we got. It was asked by Merle Nichols that we read it into the record. So my name is Merle Nichols. I was a cancer patient at Glens Falls Hospital until I was banned from there. If I ever go onto the property again, I would be arrested. Okay, so I thought that was unfair. So I picketed the hospital on Hudson Avenue, and I became aware that on the north side of the street, cars were being ticketed. On the south side of the street, they were not. I spoke to the meter person, and she said she was told not to ticket those cars south side of the street in front of the hospital. This raises many questions. Who gave the order? Someone in this room. Where else do you not force the law, and for what businesses and do public employees get to park anywhere they will, not to be ticketed? I think it fair that all those people who have gotten tickets on the north side of Hudson be refunded the ticket as I found one on the ground, and I turned it in to the clerk's office. Should be ripped up. Thank you, Merle Nichols, Fort Edward, New York. And so I will then, let's see, I want to pass a resolution to go into executive session, resolution that the, like a motion to go into executive session. We will take, there are no resolutions to be acted on tonight, so I'd also ask you to whoever makes the resolution to go in, to also come out and the meeting, because we will not take any further action tonight. So, resolution that the Glens Falls Common Council hereby adjourns to executive session pursuant to Public Officers Law, Section 105 E and F, relative to a personnel issue requested from the Glens Falls Fire Department, which may impact collective bargaining agreement, and discuss the medical condition of a particular employee and his employment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. And have you two make the motion to come out when we're done.